Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Dover Raceway in Delaware, the virtual version for the Tom Bolin 200 for the third race of our 2026A Belly Up Cup Series season for the Elite Racing League. My name is David Westergreen. I will be joined in the booth tonight by Zach Evans. Sam Boutwell is our race control this evening, and we are joined by Dave Huckleberry as the producer tonight. And Zach, Dover is always a track, rough on the tires, rough on the drivers, but we are kind of dealing with a multiple challenge for these drivers besides just the racetrack itself. Tonight, we're dealing with a iRacing update that has added a number of horsepower to these Cup Series cars. Take us through what you expect to happen with these guys encountering extra horsepower under these next-gen cars.
Well, I think the big question mark is how much tire wear will we see with this bump in horsepower? As you mentioned already, Dover, known as a track that's very harsh on these tires, and adding horsepower is only going to aggravate that issue. Is going to take a very patient right foot to stay out front in this one. I think you're going to see probably some more comers and goers, probably some more passing opportunities, because obviously more horsepower will open up the opportunity to use those secondary lines and such. But ultimately, it's going to be the challenge: who can adapt to this extra horsepower the quickest?
Yeah, it's going to intrigue for sure. I think a lot of the feedback I've seen is that it isn't all that much different than how it used to be, but the lack of diffuser pieces and the extra horsepower should provide a little more influence for the drivers on this car, where we had talked so often about dirty air and about how difficult it is to pass and whatnot. But I think, as you mentioned, right, we might be able to start discussing tire wear, start discussing the length of a run, and these guys can kind of get back to a little bit of an older style of racing on the short track package. As we've kind of mentioned, this is kind of going in line with real NASCAR, and they are only doing this on the shorter tracks. So Dover, being one of those, gets the first update here, and we get to see it in action before the real life cars take to it for the All-Star race later this year, as we will go for 200 laps tonight. A 50% race from the total distance. We will award stage points at lap 65. Remember, no stage caution will be awarded at that point. So these guys will have to race all the way through. And 49 drivers are going to be taking time tonight, Zach. And we're going to be sending some really good cars home tonight, because a lot of our open cars are top competitors in this series, and a lot of them have qualified up front. But I'm looking into this, and I think we're going to be sending somebody like Tyler Popp home, who finished in the top 5 in the Daytona 500.
Certainly possible, and obviously, I mean, Tyler Popp, he won already this week here on the Elite Racing Network. But as you mentioned, could be on the outside looking in. We'll get a closer look here in about 20 seconds at our final qualifying results.
Tate Lytle just jumped to the top of the board. He will not miss this race. He missed last week's race. So it just goes to show you, Tate Lytle, a multiple-time champion, but racing without a charter and struggling to get into the field a little bit. And he'll be racing this week, though, and probably starting from the pole. I don't think any of the final 3 that have not taken time are going to overtake him. So yeah, Tate Lytle will be racing and will be starting from the pole tonight. He'll be the 4D Racewear Pole Award winner for Lake Norman Motorsports, and it'll be a Lake Norman lockout of the front row as we switch over to the grid and jump onto our starting grid graphic. There's Tate Lytle's new scheme painted by Ray Bracey alongside Scott Crump for that Lake Norman Motorsports front row lockout. Jonathan Cutlip will be alongside Daniel Falkingham in row 2. Couple of championship contenders right there. Blake Reynolds and Nate Stewart will start third. Stewart makes the race and will be racing tonight. He continues his pursuit of good race results. Matthew Weeks and RC Anderson in row number 4. RC makes the race as an open driver. Justin Wadsworth and Gavin Hibbs will start in row 5. Gavin, last week's winner, and Wadsworth, the 2024 B Series champion. Josh Chin makes the race in row 6 alongside Garrison Hogan for Channel 199 Sim Racing.
Johnny Thomas will line up 13th. Ryan Borges qualified 14th. Further back, we have Trey Holmes lining up 15th. Ethan Stanley qualifying in the 16th position. On row 9, Chad Frankenfield with the Philadelphia Eagles colors on that car. He'll be alongside Jared Rexing. Paul Mikolajczyk will start in the 19th position. Randy Yoakum qualifying 20th. Corey Abbott rolls off 21st. He'll be alongside Gerald Campbell in row 11. In the 12th row, Tyler Popp qualified 23rd, waiting on official word on who is in or out. Daniel Gore qualified 24th.
Andrew Rucker qualifies 25th. He will not make the race. Neither will Tyler Popp, I believe. Ray Bracey in 26th. Brent Jones will start 27th. Caleb Becumer will roll from 28th with new colors in the Lake Norman Motorsports Chevy. Ty McIntosh rolls from 29th for South Shore Racing. Michael Hosack alongside him in 30th. In 31st will be Gilberto Javier Gomera, and he'll be alongside his Shift Esports teammate. That's Josh Adams in the 22.
Did we lose D West? All right. Well, you'll see the rest of the lineup as they qualified here scrolling across the screen. It looks like our DNQs are Trey Eidson, Rob Mooney, Tyler Popp.
Mark Rebeles.
Mark Rebeles. Okay. And Andrew Rucker. So about to go green here.
Yeah, with 49 cars to get through, it's a little bit difficult, and somebody might have unplugged his mic. Nevertheless, we are ready to go for the Bolin Ford 200 at Dover. Tate Lytle and Scott Crump on the front row, leading us down. The green flag is out. We are racing from Dover, and Lytle and Crump on the loud pedal early. Crump beats Tate Lytle to the line. We'll see if race control takes any action on that, but as it stands, clean start. Crump up the outside lane, and he will take over the race lead. Falkingham to the outside of Lytle for second. And Falkingham wasted no time. Dove underneath Scott Crump, immediately took the race lead back. Falkingham leads Crump, Cutlip, Nate Stewart, Tate Lytle from the pole back to 5th. Garrison Hogan bounces off the fence there coming out of turn 2 here on lap 2. Everything clean and green so far. It's Falkingham, Crump, Cutlip, Stewart and Lytle, the top 5. They're single file well back into the field. The first battle on track is between Josh Chin and Justin Wadsworth. Back for 11th and 12th. Josh Chin up on the outside lane trying to move forward alongside Matthew Weeks. Early on, these guys have single filed out a little bit. Some guys using the outside lane, some guys using that inside lane. Trouble. Caution flag is out. And I don't know what it was.
Also not sure. Well, there is the damaged car of Dustin Dewar. So we'll see. Yep, him and Seth Rawls come together off turn 2, and then, as we see so often here at Dover, if a wreck starts at the outside of the track, it washes to the inside of the track with this banking here at the Monster Mile.
Darrell Welcher used to call it a self-cleaning racetrack, and Dusty and Seth Rawls are going to take the worst damage in this lap 4 accident. Early on, it looked like the outside lane was pretty powerful, Zach. Daniel Falkingham used it to his advantage. Nate Stewart was up there. Josh Chin was up there trying to make moves. I wonder if some of these guys weren't caught sleeping a little bit. You know, with Dover, you want to really get used to your car, get used to the tire temperatures and the race temp and everything. And Tate Lytle, I mean, fell back to 5th. That's a guy that he likes to save the tire and save the car on the early part of the run, but I don't think he wanted to give up so much track position so quickly.
No, I think you're right, but I think, again, I think it's a little bit of a learning experience for everybody tonight. You know, that update coming yesterday or today, whichever one it was, and a lot of challenges, a lot of new features, whether it be simply learning the car with the extra horsepower, even getting some of these paints updated.
That's a good point. The Chevy body got an update as well. In this newest update where they altered this next gen car a little bit, and part of that, the Chevy team painters were scrambling to repaint the cars for this race. Jonathan Cutlip, one of those painters, another one being Justin Vandermarl, Ray Bracey's painted several of the cars as well, and all of those guys got these Chevys back on track, looking pretty great. I mean, I'm noticing that Jonathan Cutlip's car is a little bit different. Got a little more black around the base of the car, and Tate Lytle obviously in a brand new scheme. Gavin Hibbs looks, almost the same as the car that won the race last week. So these guys were on top of iRacing's adjustments and have stayed in front of it. And we'll see how this new car kind of drives. It looks good.
He'll doubled up here for the restart. It'll be Daniel Falkingham and Scott Crump on the front row for this restart.
Jonathan Cutlip, Nate Stewart there in row 2. Tate Lytle and Blake Reynolds in row 3. Gavin Hibbs and R.C. Anderson in row 4. Josh Chin and Garrison Hogan round out the top 10. It's the Pro Edge teammates of Matthew Weeks, Justin Wadsworth. It's Ethan Stanley, Ryan Borges, Chad Frankenfield, and Johnny Thomas. The first 8 rows back, and a long way to go. 200 laps make up this race. Lap 65 is that stage we mentioned. Base car is back on pit road. We are racing once again here from Dover. Daniel Falkingham on the loud pedal. Scott Crump did not get nearly as good a start as he got last time. Through the field, they are checking up fairly mightily, but Daniel Falkingham is away with the race lead. Falkingham to the lead. Jonathan Cutlip up to second. It's Nate Stewart underneath. Scott Crump for third. He takes that position away. Crump falls back to fourth. Tate Lytle lost another several positions on this restart. He's all the way back to ninth as Josh Chin drives around him on the outside lane. Meanwhile, it's Falkingham with a 0.4 of a second lead over Cutlip. Stewart running third just behind, and then Scott Crump is a second off the race lead already. Daniel Falkingham has picked up exactly where he left off last week at Chicago.
What's interesting from my experience with Dover, and obviously I keep mentioning it, we're all learning a little bit with this new package here tonight, whether it'll be different. But I feel like a lot of times you talk about at a lot of tracks, a lot of places, guys burning up their tires early. But I feel like Dover is just so particular how you have to race it. And usually if you're not getting it right, not only are you slower, but you're burning more tire to go slower. And the skill gap just kind of broadens over the course of a green flag run if you do get one. We'll see if we see more of a little bit of a different race with this extra horsepower, and maybe some guys able to manage that tire wear and make a move late in the run. But seems like usually it's either you're on top of the game or you're out to lunch at Dover.
Yeah, it makes things difficult, does this concrete. It provides many unique challenges. You can run multiple lanes, but you can also overdrive your car multiple ways. It's kind of a double-edged sword there, where you can try that top lane. You can run the diamonding lane that Daniel Falkingham is running right now. You can, Josh Chin up top, R.C. Anderson in the middle, Tate Lytle on the bottom right here. Like, there's so many different ways to attack this track, but generally, the way you're doing it at the beginning of the race and at the beginning of the run is going to be different from the way you do it at the end of the race. You have to be so flexible to get around Dover fast, and that's what makes it a good driver. That's what we're seeing out of guys like Josh Chin right here, trying to make a pass on Blake Reynolds. I talk about it every time we get that 66 car on screen and get into a bit of a long green flag run, but Blake Reynolds, won 2 consecutive championships in this series by winning over the long runs. He was fast on the short runs, but he has been so strong at maximizing that car over the course of the long run. And when you see a guy like Josh Chen driving up and around Blake Reynolds, running the top lane, you kind of think to yourself, I bet Blake Reynolds is currently conserving tire, planning for a long green flag run here.
Another thing we'll keep an eye on too over the course of the race. I mean, again, the concrete provides some unique challenges, and one of those is sensitivity to the track temperature changes, whether it be because of the ambient temperature, whether it be because of 40-some race cars here on the racetrack. You see it right there, 102 degrees right now, the track temperature, and that's already up a degree or two from when I had just looked on my machine, probably not even 5 laps ago.
It's going to change as this race goes on. We have, I believe an in-sim time of mid-May when this All-Star race will happen next season, and that's going to create a hot track, and that's going to provide these cars with lessening grip as we go throughout the race. Right now, these cars look pretty gripped up. Everybody's pretty well solid. For adding horsepower, I haven't seen a whole lot of rears stepping out. I think these cars are pretty well glued to the track, and you're seeing some guys move forward, some guys trying to take care of their stuff and sliding back. Josh Chin, one of those guys who's moving forward alongside last week's winner, Gavin Hibbs. They have both moved into the top 5, dropped Scott Crump back to 6th. There's the biggest movers of the race graphic. Right now it's Ethan Burrell with the highest number of those. Ty McIntosh, Caleb McHumor among those on the list that have been moving forward since the drop of the green flag in this race. We are just approaching 20 laps in. Daniel Falkingham has led since the drop from the 4th starting spot. He's got about a half a second lead right now over Jonathan Cutlip. Nate Stewart sitting in 3rd. And then it's Gavin Hibbs and Josh Chin rounding out your top 5. Zach, these guys have really single filed out. I saw a little bit of passing there while we were talking about Blake Reynolds and the track and the temp and stuff. And right now, these guys are trying to click laps off. The only guy really making moves is this guy right here, Daniel Gore. I've seen him jump out on this back straightaway a couple of different times. He passed Justin Vandermarl a few laps ago. Now going around Brent Jones in the 89 car right here. Danny G trying to move that number 69 car forward. Chase down his teammates who are currently 21st and 22nd up the road from him respectively right now. Another guy moving forward, he was on the biggest movers list. He's making a pass right now is Caleb McHumor. He's to the outside of Paul Mikolajczyk. This 59 car, we've been almost accustomed, Zach, to seeing him making really good qualifying runs and being up in the top 10. It was not the case tonight, but he's up to 17th already.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen, like you said, Caleb McHumor has really become quite the solid qualifier here in the Cup Series. As now we look at this battle for the lead. Daniel Falkingham, or excuse me, this is second. Nate Stewart and Jonathan Cutlip battling for position.
If it's Nate Stewart around the inside of Jonathan Cutlip. And the newcomers are 1-2 here at Dover. Falkingham is just driven away from that battle, though. Even that just little bit of side-by-side racing between Stewart and Cutlip has afforded Daniel Falkingham basically to double his lead on those two behind him.
Oh. Yeah, he is way up against the wall here in turns 3 and 4. It's Matthew Weeks. I'm not sure if he had a moment on the backstretch or what exactly happened, but he has lost a ton of ground here.
Yeah, it was because he was lagged out of the race there for a minute. Matthew Weeks falling down the order right now, trying to get out of the way of some of these competitors. If that that internet blips. He does not want to be where it wrecks this 11 car. He wants to be able to recover. That's why he's yielding. Danny G around Corey Abbott on the front straightaway. I don't think he got a piece of the wall, but it almost looked like he did there. He moves forward, further towards the front. Josh Chin just bypassed Jonathan Cutlett for third. That 93 car has been on the move since the beginning of the race, from 11th starting position up to third place right here, and he's been really, really fast. But a second and a half behind Daniel Falkingham right now. It's going to be pretty difficult for this 93 to run him down. Nate Stewart is running Daniel Falkingham down right now, however. Zach, let's see what these pros can do. We've obviously got him up here running 1-2, couple of guys that have done a lot of this stuff. And right now, Nate Stewart trying to run down Daniel Falkingham for the race lead. You've got a couple of guys that know how to get it done here at Dover, know how to get around this place, and are currently set up to have a really nice battle for the race lead here in just a couple of laps, and ultimately probably the stage win, if I had to guess, because that's only 30 laps away, but at Dover, that goes by really quickly.
And there you're seeing the comparisons between Falkingham and Stewart and their lap times right now. On that 27th lap, Josh Chin was about 0.3 quicker than both Falkingham and Stewart. They leveled out a little bit more last time by. We'll get a look here as they complete lap 29. And yeah, they're all in that 23.9 range. Stewart was a little bit quicker that time at 23.899, but they've kind of all leveled out, and really they're the only ones on track in that 23-second bracket range still.
And Nate Stewart, you can see he's trying to get clean air on the nose of the 67 car, trying to use the outside lane at Dover. And look, Daniel Falkingham using a little bit of mirror driving action to go up the racetrack and try to cut that clean air off of that 67. Nate Stewart's dropped this lead down underneath 0.2 of a second, but it's going to be tough to pass Daniel Falkingham. We've seen that 39 car be really quick out in the clean air.
Boy, right up against the fence that time. They both were in 3 and 4.
And Zach, do you think these guys? I mean, these guys know more than we do about how to get around Dover, but my historical understanding is when you use this outside lane at Dover, right, the tires have worn a little bit. You're trying to get that big run down the straightaways, and that's what we're seeing Nate Stewart do right here. Doesn't this burn off the right front tire more and more the more you do it, because you have to crank the wheel to drive the car down the banking?
I mean, I think to a certain extent that's the concern, right? That's traditionally how that works, but at the same time, I almost wonder, with concrete, again, being as temperature sensitive as it is, both in real life and in the sim, if it's a little bit cooler up there, it might actually cancel out a little bit.
I guess then once the track warms up there, that might...
Right. It only works for a little while, but it'll work for now, I think. Yes.
Yep. And Nate Stewart is kind of stabilized right there at about 2 to 3/10 of a second behind Daniel Falkingham, unable to make that pass for the race lead. We saw a lot more guys making passes in the midfield, but as we saw, I think it was the last time we went to Dover, Zach. You will probably be able to correct me if I'm wrong. It might be one of the last times we went to Dover, but I think Ethan Burrell led every lap one of those times, and there was just no passing. I've seen more in the pack than I had the last couple of times, but it looks similarly difficult to drive up and bypass the race leader with that clean air on his nose.
Yeah, I think that's just the nature of Dover, and you've seen that forever in real life as well. It's just such a challenging racetrack to get around that either you've got it figured out or you don't, for the most part. Trying to find that race you're talking about. It looks like Blake Reynolds won the last Dover Cup race here.
So it was two ago.
So, and he led 155 out of the 200 laps that time. So
dominant wins are...
Yes. And you are 2024 B was when Ethan Burrell, as you stated, led all 200 laps for the win here at the Monster Mile.
Yeah, dominant wins are a feature, not a bug, in the Elite Racing League at Dover. We have seen it time and time again. Somebody get out front, get in the clean air, and be able to hold everybody off. But what Daniel Falkingham is going to have to encounter as we move further along in this race is lapped traffic. He will have to negotiate a number of cars. We started 43 tonight, 2 of them off track after a lap 4 crash, that being Seth Rawls and Dusty Dewar. 41 cars still in the lead lap, 41 cars still in the race, and Daniel Falkingham is approaching the rear of the field shortly, so things are going to start to get interesting for the race leader, where he will not have that clean air any longer. And we'll see how the handle changes for Daniel Falkingham as we look back in the field at Caleb Pecumer battling with Ryan Borges. This is a battle for 13th place on the grid right here. And Pecumer has risen through the field quite nicely into the top 15, and it looks like, a little wiggle from Pecumer, but it looks like this car isn't really falling completely off pace in terms of losing the tires. It's just Ray Bracey going around Paul Mikolajczyk. Mojo gets it done. Move Ray Bracey into 20th. Mikolajczyk back. Here's another battle between Chad Frankenfield and Jared Rexing in the 15 to 20 range. I think that's 4/15th. They give it to Jared Rexing. Zach, yes, it is. New paint scheme for Jared Rexing. Had to make the update with the update to the Chevy body. Zach, if I had a nickel for every time a car spun trying to go onto or off of pit road last week from the race lead, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it was really weird that it happened twice, because Jared Rexing did it at the beginning of the race. Daniel Falkingham did it at the end of the race. Both of them were unable to recover from those mistakes, and Gavin Hibbs was able to knock home the race win. But there you go. Jared Rexing up at 15th, not having quite as good a day as he was having last week at Chicagoland, but still a solid beginning to the race. Trey Holmes, Corey Abbott, Brent Jones on screen now in a battle. This is outside the top 20 for 23rd on screen. The race leader has gotten into lap traffic, but it has not encountered any problems thus far, putting Michael Goodman and Carlos Acosta a lap down. Here's Caleb Pecumer inside of Ryan Borges. Give the spot to number 59. The march forward continues for Pecumer.
It's always very odd with Dover. You're never quite sure. Are you going to get these long green flag runs like we're now seeing after that early first caution? Or is it going to be a wreck fest? If you'd asked me to guess based on what we saw in practice and qualifying, we would not have gotten this long run. But we are definitely making our way, close to the quarter mark of this race.
And then at Dover, if he goes green, it goes by very quickly, just 24-second lap times. In a long green flag run, 24-second lap times. If you're qualifying, we qualified in the 22.8s, 22.7s. So these guys are zipping around Dover, and Nate Stewart starting to apply pressure to Daniel Falkingham. There's a lot of dirty air up in front of this 39 car, and Stewart's been driving into dirty air the entire race so far, and this 67 has been pretty adept at finding a way to be quick around that dirty air. Falkingham in behind Kurt Gibson and Ryan Schultz here, and these lapped cars, while they're well within their right to race these leaders, but these guys are going to be battling for the lead, just trying to get around these guys.
And the problem is, again, going back to what I said earlier, if you're a car getting lapped at this point, it's probably everything in your power just to get the car to hold a line. You're not trying to hold up the leaders. You're fighting for your own survival as you're getting lapped. So this is going to be probably really dodgy, especially as we get closer and closer to some larger packs in this lap trade. Oh, we've got trouble on the backstretch. I don't know if it's going to bring out a caution or not, but Jesse Racimus in the 80 car, yes, right there. because he was almost in front of the leaders there on the backstretch as they were catching him.
You saw the smoke as these guys approached the screen. Jesse's car pinned up against the inside wall. Let's take a look and see what happened to Jesse Racimus. And I think this car just loosened up on him. Maybe a little bit of contact with Randy Yoakum in the 08.
Yeah, hard to tell there if there was contact or not, but either way, Racimus gets loose there, noses into the inside wall. And I thought he was going to be able to drive away from that without it bringing out caution. You see, he'll kind of correct its direction after this bounce against the wall, but as he applies the throttle, it kind of spins the tires, and that brings him back onto the racing surface.
Did we lose him? Here's a view from pit exit. Everybody heading down pit road, by the way. And there's the spinning number 80, Jesse Racimus, as the race leaders drive on by. Why don't we take this opportunity to zip to a commercial break, and we'll be back to recap pit road and restart the race here after lap 50 of 200.
Tickets are on sale now for the 10th Bommarito Automotive Group 500 at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Sunday, June 7th features 3
Blue Egg Marketing. Rev up your business with Blue Egg, your marketing.
Right on the restart.
Tickets are on sale now for the 10th Bommarito Automotive Group 500 at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Sunday, June 7th features 3 huge races. The USAC Classic, Firestone Indy next, and the only Sunday night prime time NTT IndyCar Series race. Enjoy a weekend of cars, concerts, camping, food, and fun. The stars of the Indy 500 are coming to St. Louis. Get your tickets now and save big at WWTRaceway.com.
Looking for a heck of a deal? You'll find it at Tom Boland Ford in Hannibal. Right now, over $4,000 off 2025 Escapes, $2,500 off 2025 Broncos, and over $5,000 off select new 2025 F-150s. And the best part, every one of them comes with a Boland lifetime powertrain warranty at no extra cost. Big savings, long-term peace of mind, all in one place. Tom Boland Ford Hannibal. Heck of a deal, ain't it?
Blue Egg Marketing. Rev up your business with Blue Egg, your marketing pit crew. Turbocharge your lead generation with experienced drivers that can navigate the competitive track to connecting with your customers. With Blue Egg, you're always in the pole position, leading your brand towards victory lane. So don't spin your wheels, accelerate success with Blue Egg, fueling small businesses to win big.
Welcome back to the Boland Ford 200. We are 1 to green. Daniel Falkingham won the race off pit road. I did not yet see a tally call on the caution. I'll wait and let race control decide that one. Falkingham leads Nate Stewart, Josh Chin, Jonathan Cutlip, and Blake Reynolds is in the top 5. Scott Crump, R.C. Anderson, Gavin Hibbs, Tate Lytle, and Garrison Hogan make up the top 10. Ryan Schultz got the lucky dog. And we will be 12 laps until the stage, so things may pick up here for the next couple of laps. No caution at lap 65. We will award points 1st through 10th. Pace car is on pit road. Daniel Falkingham and Nate Stewart side by side, and Falkingham with an excellent jump as the race leader, Jonathan Cutlip, spins the tires. Scott Crump has to check up and avoid him. They're going to be tight going into turn 1 in the mid-pack. Crump is 4 wide with Stanley Hogan and Hibbs. This isn't going to work off turn 2. Hibbs brushes the wall. Everybody manages to save it. Crump able to get the spot. Wow.
If you had told me they'd successfully pull off 4 wide on a restart at Dover, I would have called you crazy.
Yeah, that was extremely dangerous there. It was for a point. Ethan Stanley and Garrison Hogan are side by side for the 10th spot when we hit the stage at lap 65. Josh Chin back around Jonathan Cutlip. Blake Reynolds up into 3rd after the restart. Falkingham continues to lead Stewart up front. The battle is back here for 10th. Garrison Hogan just took it from Ethan Stanley. Stanley back to 11th, fighting with Jared Rexing and Chad Frankenfield for that spot. Here comes Rexing outside of Ethan Stanley. If he wants a chance to grab a point, that 71 car is going to need to make up some ground and get up there to Garrison Hogan. Right now, that he was a little too high that time, falls back behind Stanley. Stanley retains 11th. But man, Zach, I'm a little surprised at the lack of pure pace from that 91 of Ethan Stanley. Comes Wadsworth inside of Chad Frankenfield, looking to try to get back into the fight for those stage points. But the laps are clicking away. Oh, Jared Campbell into the outside wall. Caleb Pecumer hard into the wall. Trouble as Justin Wadsworth spins. Ryan Borges is around. Big hits for Campbell, Pecumer, Wadsworth, and Borges all. Caution is out. That may get us to the stage, but we might have a 2-lap dash to get those points. Big wreck here on the front straightaway. What happened? Oh, wow. Zach, it's going to be tally 15.
So he had been complaining of wheel damage for a lap or two before this. Apparently there was an incident between him and Justin Wadsworth earlier in this restart, and then the car gets loose there. Yeah, it looks like lap 56 going down to backstretch. There was contact between the 15 and the 6 car.
This is a replay of the restart. Chad Frankenfield 3 wide around Ryan Borges. That gets him up there behind Justin Wadsworth. They're 4 wide in front. Now he and Wadsworth side by side. I'm assuming this is lap 55, so next lap would be 56.
Yeah.
So we'll carry on here and kind of keep up with these two. Maybe one more, unless that was it.
No, keep going.
So Chad challenging Gerald's underneath Wadsworth.
Yeah.
That's it right there?
I believe so.
Oh yeah. Justin gets a little piece of the damage, or a little piece of the rear bumper of Chad Frankenfield, and slides that 15 into the wall. He gets the wheel damage, but I mean, the car doesn't look overly loose right there, and then it just goes around on him here on corner exit at turn 4. Piles up a bunch of good race cars. Ryan Borges 6 minutes of damage, according to the chat. A big wreck, probably 5-6 car wreck on the front straightaway here at Dover. Justin Wadsworth already lapped down, still sitting in the pits. Gerald Campbell is back down pit road. Ryan Borges trying to come off pit road. All those guys are going to lose significant track position out of the top 15 where they were running. Caleb Pecumer will have to do it again. That car doesn't look too bad. The right front tires bowed out on it, so he might also be in for a long night. As they double up, it will be 3 laps to decide the stage points. We'll award points from 10 points for first to 1 point for 10th. Right now, those getting points would be Daniel Falkingham, Nate Stewart, Blake Reynolds, Josh Chin, Jonathan Cutlip, R.C. Anderson, Tate Lytle, Scott Crump, Gavin Hibbs, and Garrison Hogan. And this restart, Zach, might get even crazier than the last one. In the last one, they were 4 wide in turn 2.
Well, you always have to worry about with not fresh tires, spinning those tires on a restart here at Dover.
Yeah. So Falkingham and Stewart will have to consider that as they roll through. Into the restart zone goes Falkingham. He gets on the loud pedal. No spinning of the tires throughout the field that I could see, and Falkingham gets away with the lead. Stewart cuts off Blake Reynolds for that second spot, and They're side by side from third on back between Shin and Reynolds coming off turn 2. Bracy a little piece of the wall. Everybody else is all right, and they're 2 laps till the stage. Falkingham is away with the lead. He'll likely get the stage win. The battle is here for third between Reynolds and Chin. Give it to Blake Reynolds right now. Josh Chin working that outside line, trying to get back to it. For 10th right now, the battle is between Jared Rexing and Gavin Hibbs. Rexing jumps into the top 10 in the 71 car. He'll be in line for a point here within the next 2 laps. The last week's winner, Gavin Hibbs, currently outside that top 10. Lytle to the inside of Hogan. He'll think better of it. Slide in line. Rexing now to the outside of Kate Lytle. All this a battle for 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Johnny Thomas looking to get into the mix. 2 to go in the stage. Might be too high for Jared Rexing. Here comes Daniel Falkingham. He just turned the fastest lap of the race so far, and he rockets towards the stage win. The battle is for 10th between Gavin Hibbs and Jared Rexing. No challenge for Daniel Falkingham here as we look into the pack. Rexing way up top. Hibbs down to the inside. Can Gavin Hibbs get the run off of turn 4 to grab that stage point? He cannot. Falkingham wins the stage. It'll be Stuart Reynolds, Chin, Cutlip, Henderson, Crump, Hogan, Lytle, and Rexing that pick up those stage points. And now we can settle in and run 135 laps to the end of this thing.
That sounds good. I like your thought process.
You'd think that these guys would have a similar thought process, right? Like they would say, okay, we race for the points. Let's get in line. Let's click off some laps. So we do get a severe damage penalty for Wadsworth from that contact with Chad Frankenfield.
Been for the green flag contact.
Right. This was before the caution. I'm wondering whether there was a tally for... Yeah, that's okay. So, pair of tallies issued for those at fault in the wrecks there. Falkingham still leads Nate Stewart. Stewart's a lot closer. There's the tally for Chad Frankenfield.
There we go. Oh! Corey Abbott sideways, and he's got to collect Ryan Schold. Frank Fode's involved.
Oh,
this
big
is
rat.
Turn 2.
Corey stopped on the apron and he toes it, and that will not bring out the yellow flag.
And by rule, admins cannot throw a yellow because in the infinite wisdom of people who make these decisions, iRacing only screws up at super speedways and road courses. I mean, this is as caution gets, and I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but I mean, we're going to watch this unfold here on the replay. Abbott is sideways across the entire racetrack, contact it looks like, maybe netcode, hard to say with Britt Jones. Collects Ryan Schold there, collects Frank Fode there. Like, that's got to be a caution. That has to be a caution, but of course, race control, Sam Boutwell's hands are completely tied. He's not allowed to throw the caution, and iRacing decided, you know what, 3 cars wrecking isn't a caution. So we stay green.
Yeah, we stay green. I'm completely on your side here, Zach. I've been long making the point that if we
doing these jobs, let them do their job. It
right.
shouldn't be rocket surgery, but apparently it is.
Yeah, I'm fully on board. You know, that Sam does a great job, and there's no reason why he wouldn't be able to denote that was a caution flag, throw it, put it out, and prevent a lot of those guys back there who did check up for an incident in front of them, who are now penalized into potentially going a lap down to Daniel Falkingham if this race does go green. That's they're penalized because they checked up for the wreck. And I don't like penalizing guys for being smart and conservative with their cars.
Correct.
You'll get pure honesty here on the Elite Racing Network and the Belly Up Sports Cup Series on Wednesday nights. Please tune in every week. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Don't miss out on epic rants such as any time Zach Evans sees a caution flag that he that doesn't get called by iRacing out here on Wednesday nights, because it'll happen again. I promise. Here is a battle for 11th. Ethan Stanley currently holds that position. Jared Rexing and Johnny Thomas trying to hunt him down. Johnny Thomas jumps to the inside of Rexing, and Brett Jones gets the severe damage penalty. I don't know about that one. I mean, yeah, you can avoid Corey, but Corey was sideways initially. You know, I do think that the car behind needs to be aware of where their nose goes. So I guess I'm all right with the call. Johnny Thomas clears Jared Rexing for 12th. Trying to look back for some battles through the field right now. Ray Bracey holds 16th. Gavin Higgins, Daniel Gore, and Ty McIntosh are all kind of in a close heat. I think Daniel Gore is going to get a run on Gavin Higgins. Jump to the inside here down the back straightaway. He will do so and move Danny G up to the 17th spot around car number 20. Nate Stewart has tried and tried to get the lead from Daniel Falkingham, but he is just encountering woes in closing that last 0.2 of a second to the back bumper of this 39 car, Zach.
Yeah, and of course, you know, we talk about the drivers learning this new platform. I think we're trying to learn it too and trying to figure out, what is the case here? It's hard to make too many observations off of one race. You don't want to overblow a sample size of one. That's just how much of a stronghold Daniel Falkingham has on this lead? Is this just Dover being Dover? Is it still just going to be really hard to pass a leader in this next gen car, even with the update? It's really hard to say at this point, but certainly as it stands right now, Nate Stewart has not been able to find a way around that 39 car.
And it's not for lack of trying. Nate Stewart has been sideways off of turn 4 at least twice in the time we were on the screen with him. They are encountering lap traffic up for the race lead. Johnny Thomas is still fighting with Ethan Stanley for the 11th spot. Jared Rexing in tow. And it just looks difficult to pass, Zach. And that was a feature, not a bug, of the next gen car with the diffuser and stuff. But part of the changes that were made was that if in this short track package, those diffuser strakes have been reduced. My question was, and I think I presented it to, we were talking about it with Danny G last night. My question was, did they get a chance to remodel that? Because we don't know how the real life characteristics are going to affect 40 cars on the racetrack at one time without those diffuser strakes, especially on a higher speed track like Dover. So my wager would be it's like they're still there, just with higher horsepower, because we're seeing a lot of the same characteristics that we saw last time at Dover, right? You get within 0.2 of a second of the guy in front of you, they just aero block you, and you can't bypass them unless there's a big mistake or a big tire difference.
And again, I don't want to draw too much from one race, because it could just be, again, this may just be Dover. I mean, this is how Dover was in the 90s with the Gen 4 race cars, or even the Gen 3 race cars. Dover has a very specific brand of racing. But at the same time, to your point, I think there's a lot of that involved as well. I mean, we went through that with the initial move to the next gen car, as people may recall. It released on iRacing before it ever touched a track in real life. We ran it here in the Elite Series a full half season before it debuted in the real world. Well, the problem was, at that point, it was really a very speculative race car. It still had 550 horsepower. It had a larger spoiler that ever ran in real life, because they tested a lot of those components and said, oh, this isn't very good. We need to make some changes. But we chose to be the guinea pigs, I suppose, at least in the virtual world in iRacing. And spoiler alert, our version of the next-gen car was even worse. I mean, the brakes were terrible on it, much worse than the real-life brakes, as we now see Ethan Stanley. That's
10th spot.
10th spot on Gavin Hibbs as he makes his way through turn 3 and 4. But I mean, not only was the real-life next-gen car at that point not well received, the virtual one wasn't even a good replication of it.
Right. We didn't know initially what it was supposed to be, and then when it got on track, we knew it wasn't right. Can we go back up to the lead real quick here, Dave? Because Stewart got to Falkingham's rear bumper once there, but hasn't been able to get back to it. But if we're going to wax on about the next-gen car, I do want to keep our attention on this battle for the lead because it is close. But as we've mentioned, the difficulty has been, it wasn't this way when that car dropped, right? It wasn't a difficult car to pass in.
Right. I'm sorry, I just chuckle every time we go on board with Nate Stewart, and he's running the Eldora line.
Yep. He hit the wall in turn 4 a lap or two ago, and that's what opened up this gap, but he had closed it all the way down. He was on the back bumper of Daniel Falkingham entering turn 3, and when he went up to the wall, he hit it right at that General Tire sign you saw. But here he comes once again, big run. He's just chosen this outside line. He's living like Kyle Larson right now here at Dover, and I love it. But we'll see if it's able to work for him.
Well, the saying goes, if you follow the leader, you will always follow the leader. He's definitely running a different line than Falkingham and giving himself a chance to set up a pass. But we'll see if maybe this lap traffic throws a wrench into things as well here.
This is going to make things difficult. Ryan Borges and Seth Rawls, the two Shift Esports Fords, up the track. Rawls into the wall. Here comes Stewart. He's not able to stay underneath. Falkingham gets a good run off the corner, and Rawls prevents Stewart from being able to rise to the outside lane. That's going to cost Nate Stewart a little bit of time. Nothing Seth Rawls could have done there. He was as far out of the way as he could possibly be, but just the nature of where Nate Stewart had to make that pass prevented him from running his lane, and in so doing prevented him from staying with Daniel Falkingham. Falkingham through Carlos Acosta as well. Stewart now having to play catch up once again.
And that time, Stewart was able to adjust a little bit better, but still caught Costa at just the wrong spot there where he wasn't able to track up to the outside lane on corner exit.
The advantage for Nate Stewart has going right now is that outside line is just kind of unused. No one else is going up there right now, and it's giving him fresh air on the nose of that 67 car. You can see how well it bites in the center of the corner. Sometimes it's biting because he's using the wall, but it bites, and he turns down the track and gets a really big head of steam on this 39 car. But Daniel Falkingham is able to just move up the racetrack whenever Nate Stewart gets close, and so Stewart's going to have to make the pass basically on the bottom of the racetrack, and that's not where he's been running. It's going to make things definitely a little more uncomfortable, I think, for Nate Stewart. Inside of Kurt Gibson, again, Falkingham able to clear before corner exit. Stewart having to run, not all the way out to the outside of the racetrack. They'll get around Michael Goodman this time. Blake Reynolds is right there behind them, but he's just struggling a little bit more with this lap traffic than the first two leaders are.
Which is
Harrison
funny.
Talon.
I won't say funny, but a lot of times you go into these situations and the leader has to work a little bit harder because the lap down car will be like, oh, I'm going to fight, I'm going to try to stay on the lead lap. And then once you lose the lead lap, oh, well, everybody else can go by. That doesn't matter. But Dover is just so hard to get around that everybody kind of has, I won't even say an equal fight, but just when you catch a guy, completely changes if you have a better or worse time than the guy before you or after you.
Right. And it really has been just about timing in the center of the corner. Right now, speaking of the center of the corner, that's where Blake Reynolds is making up a lot of time on these two race leaders. He is really good on the very bottom of the racetrack. We've seen Falkingham track to the middle lane for the most part, but he's kind of running the top right now to aero block Nate Stewart. That's allowing Blake Reynolds to close in on these guys, and he has been a bottom feeder the entirety of the run. At 66, the 66 car has really started to come alive in the last couple of laps, and Zach, I I called it earlier, right? When the race goes green, the 66 really gets good after about 20 to 30 laps in a run. That's where we are right now.
And certainly he'll be hoping this run goes a little bit longer so he can keep up that momentum. You see the trending lap times there, and now they are side by side for the top spot.
Daniel Falkingham took to the outside lane, took Nate Stewart's line away from him. That's going to give Falkingham a nice run down the back straightaway. He clears by Stewart. Stewart trying to use that bottom groove to his advantage, but Zach, I wonder if the right front tire is in a little upset on the 67, a little loose that time through as well. And here comes Blake Reynolds behind Nate Stewart. I guess the unfortunate aspect of this next gen car is, you make the light mistake if you're Nate Stewart, right? And the car is there's so much horsepower, there's so much, well, not horsepower, there's so much downforce and side force. When you just wind the car up and keep it wound up, you drive through the mistakes a lot. It's something I've definitely noticed, and Stewart now starting to fall off of Daniel Falkingham and into the clutches of Blake Reynolds. He's got to go back to that outside lane, but Reynolds is really quick in the center of the corner right now, and if he can power off the corner, he'll be clear of Nate Stewart and give second to Blake Reynolds.
When you have a car, and this has been pretty universal regardless of what kind of vehicle I've seen race at Dover, if you can get this long in the run and still wrap the bottom and carry speed on corner exit the way Blake Reynolds is doing, you're in really good shape.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what kind of car it is. If you're carrying speed off the bottom of the racetrack at Dover, you're fast. And Blake Reynolds is certainly doing that right now.
Had a little bit of a moment further back, stay green here, but it was with this group of cars. Kurt Gibson kind of got a piece of the wall and then came down into R.C. Enerson that has allowed Tate Lytle to get by.
Ethan Stanley as well is going to go around Enerson here. Garrison Hogan drives around Scott Crump. That is a battle for sixth. Battle it is no longer. Hogan takes sixth away. You mentioned, right, how wrapping the bottom with speed. We had shifted our focus over to Tate Lytle there for a second, and I do want to jump back to him as Ty McIntosh flies by Ray Bracey. Tate Lytle's a car that I typically associate with that same line, right? He's running the new paint scheme, but look where Tate Lytle is running, right? Up top, carrying the momentum up the racetrack. That's not something we typically see from Tate Lytle. It shows me that this track is it's lacking in a lot of grip, but two, Tate's struggling with keeping this car on the bottom of the racetrack, wrapping the bottom just like we think he would normally do. And if that's the case, right, that means that Blake Reynolds is doing all the more work here right now to get up to Daniel Falkingham on the bottom of the racetrack, because if two-time champ Tate Lytle is struggling with staying on the bottom, everybody is, in my experience on iRacing. So Blake Reynolds is up alongside Daniel Falkingham for the race lead here, and I think this battle might be short-lived, because I think Falkingham has started to experience the Nate Stewart lane is not so nice to the tires. So see if we can get to the race lead here. Dave might have stepped away, but Blake Reynolds is still side. There it is. There, Blake Reynolds side by side with Falkingham, but he has not been able to make the pass. Falkingham is holding that momentum on the outside lane, but you can see Reynolds is trying a little bit more to get past this 39 car, and it's not going to happen this time on the front straightaway. Falkingham continues to lead. I believe he still led every lap of this race, 110 circuits so far, but the more Blake Reynolds pressures Daniel Falkingham, the harder he has to turn down the racetrack, and the more difficult it's going to be for that 39 to keep the right front tire on the car. Falkingham leads.
Yep, got that run off the corner.
Blake Reynolds showing why he's a multi-time champion in this series. Long run pace on the bottom of the racetrack here at Dover, and he's been able to track down a guy who's led the most laps of the season so far in Daniel Falkingham, and he's trying to find a way around. He's using creative lines at that line. Lead change first time today. Give it to Blake Reynolds. Reynolds is almost clear of Daniel Falkingham, just not.
Now he'll get clear.
Can Falkingham make the run back to the inside of Reynolds? No, he cannot. He gives Reynolds the bump draft down the front straightaway, and Blake Reynolds to the bottom of the racetrack, and he'll jump into this clean air. And I imagine these two drivers behind him have used their stuff up a little bit, and Reynolds' car still looks so clean and smooth on the bottom of the racetrack right now.
And what's crazy is even as that battling was going on, they opened, I don't know, a half second, maybe a whole second over Jonathan Cutlip in fourth. I mean, that's just kind of where these top three are right now. And like I say, that's Dover for you. The guys that have it figured out can race like that this long into a run and still gain time on people further back.
It helps when the people further back are making a pass. Jonathan Cutlip drove around Josh Chin the same lap Falkingham and Reynolds were side by side, so that's a little bit of the story there. But I mean, Cutlip is still, equal pace right now with Falkingham and Reynolds. Like, Reynolds is still faster. He's the fastest car on the racetrack right now in that 66, and Jonathan Cutlip is up there, but it's not the same level of pace. You can see that just the lead Blake Reynolds has opened up over Daniel Falkingham in just a very short amount of time. Zach, I don't know what the fuel number is. I wouldn't be shocked if we weren't entering one stop to go territory here, and to see some of these guys up front maybe make a dash to pit road and try and get a big lead on with the undercut on some of these guys in front of them.
And lap times, of course, have fallen off more than a second at this point into the run, even for our top competitors. So if you go for that undercut, it's got to come with a huge advantage. I mean, a full second in a 22 or 23 second lap is massive, but
right,
it will come with the trade-off at the end of the race.
Not only that, it'll also come off with the risk of a yellow flag coming out before you cycle back onto the lead laps. So the risk-reward factor is significant, but for guys that are maybe not running for the points, like, ironically enough, Blake Reynolds, that might be a route to go down in order to pick up some time. Reynolds right now, though, has opened up 1.4 seconds. If I'm Blake Reynolds, I'm staying on the racetrack until everybody behind me is pit and the tank is dry.
Well, and let's talk about that as well in case we do get into a green flag pit.
Nope.
We will not. Never mind. I'm not going to say a dang word.
Oh, that's remarkable. We just started thinking about it, too, literally just a couple of laps ago. And that's a good thing nobody, I'm sure all the drivers, maybe it brushed their minds, but then the possibility of the caution, it's too strong. And this is what happens. It's between, looks like Corey Abbott and Gerald Campbell.
Gotta be interesting because this was not, maybe this was what started it. Whoa, okay.
Gerald is gone.
So the incident I saw Ryan, well, I didn't even see the incident, but I saw Ryan, that's the earlier incident. What I saw was Ryan Borges stopped on the inside of the track in turn 1. That's the incident that didn't bring out the yellow.
Yeah, that is going to be the one that brought out the yellow, I believe. Or just got loose. Right, well, yeah, got loose. He had pit, so this car was on fresher tires as well.
There we go.
So Ryan Borges brings an end to the long green flag run. Lap 121. Out of our 280 laps to go or so. And Zach, I believe these guys can make it to the end from here. And everybody has come down pit road. They're going to put 4 fresh tires on it and jam this thing full of fuel and see if they can't get to the end of this race. So a race off pit road. Blake Reynolds is going to win that battle over, Nate Stewart's going to barely beat Daniel Falkingham. And then it's Cutlip, Hogan, Chin, Crump, Stanley, and Lytle. Matthew Weeks has done a nice job recovering. He's back up to 11th after having to drop through the field due to some connection issues early in the race. They will get we'll give a tally to Ryan Borges for the self-spin, but no car contact. That one won't carry so much weight. Give me some waiver rounds here too, Zach. Tell me about the thought process you're going to have to go through in order to take a waiver round on 60 lap old tires at Dover.
Boy, I do not love it. I mean, you need a caution like on the restart to make this work, because you are going to get lapped quicker than one of poor Dave's sneezing fits tonight. And God bless him for producing while a little bit under the weather here, but let me tell you, you're going to need a caution in a hurry to not lose a lap if that's the game plan here.
I think Jaden Racimus did pit before the... Yeah, Jaden Racimus did pit, but Gerald Campbell and Harrison Talon are out there hoping for a very quick yellow so they can bolt some new tires on these cars. So we'll line it up here. Blake Reynolds is the race leader after all of the pit cycle. Nate Stewart has risen to second. It'll be Falkingham third, Cutlip fourth, Hogan fifth here on the restart, and Josh Chin in sixth. Pace car hits pit road. Blake Reynolds hasn't been great on these short runs. Let's see if he can hold these guys off now that he's got the race lead. Green flag is out. Reynolds on the loud pedal. Falkingham with a good restart. He'll get inside of Nate Stewart for second. Reynolds clear to the lead. These guys fan out behind him, 2 and 3 wide. Kind of dipped down, though. They kind of stayed too wide there. Falkingham is really fast in the short run. This 39 car gets up and goes. He clears Nate Stewart for second. He's going after Blake Reynolds here. Into turn one, Reynolds doing that same line he'd been doing the entirety of that long run, but Blake's going to need a long run here, I think, in order to hold this 39 car back. Daniel Falkingham all over Blake Reynolds here for the race lead. Just a matter of time, I think. One thing that Blake was really good at was once he did get the lead last couple of seasons, he had never wanted to let it go. And right now he's turned up the pace for sure. He's trying. But he's also got to be good on the short run. Yeah, flickered on me a little there. It flickered on me a little there.
Oh, flickered. Okay, got it.
Okay, Lytle side by side with Gavin Hibbs back in 9th, 10th, racing with Ethan Stanley. Stanley has cleared these two guys. Lytle trying to go after last week's winner, Hibbs. Give the 9th spot to Gavin Hibbs. Move Tate Lytle, the pole sitter, back into 10th. And Tate's had a bit of a struggle bus this race. It's nice to say 10th is a struggling race for Tate Lytle, but it really has been. This is a guy that typically challenges for the race win, but it's a new animal. He's got to wrap his arms around here, and this next-gen car is proven to be a difficult one for Tate Lytle, at least in the last couple of seasons.
Ooh, I believe that was Thomas that almost got a piece of the wall there on corner exit.
He's racing with Matthew Weeks for this 11th spot or the 12th spot, and Johnny Thomas is going to get around Matthew Weeks. Here comes Daniel Gore as well, going after Matthew Weeks. 69 car rides up to the outside lane. Danny G, first time today we've seen him inside the top 15, and he moves past Matthew Weeks as well and into 13th. Just behind him, here comes Paul Mikolajczyk after Ray Bracey. This a battle for the 16th position. Ray has it. Paul wants it. And Ray's going to get that outrun on the outside lane and hold Paul off for now. I might have spoke too soon. Now Ray holds off Paul Gavin Higgins to the inside there. Here's Scott Crump going after Josh Chin. Jared Rexing just had a moment off turn 4, got loose. Johnny Thomas and Daniel Gore have gone by the 71. Here's Crump and Chin side by side. Josh Chin using that outside line to drive around Scott Crump. He'll hold off the 90 for now. Nate Stewart has kind of taken to the bottom, Zach. He isn't running his same line. I wonder if he learned something with the tire readouts there.
Well, that is... Ooh, boy. Sorry, got distracted there by the sliding Scott Crump as he battles with Josh Chin in this battle for 6.
Scott Crump making contact with somebody? Well, I never.
I don't know if they made contact or not, but it was very close.
Scott's definitely trying to use that inside line to get around Josh Chin. Chin's been very willing to drive up and around the wall. Scott's been very reliably in about 6th to 7th place here this evening. Ooh, loose is that 90 car off turn 4. He stayed in it though. The thing I've seen quite a bit, and I'm wondering if this is maybe something we'll have to see on a different track, maybe a gateway. It looks like when that car it used to get a little snappy loose in this next gen car where it would just spin around on you. There's Gerald Campbell going down pit road on those 60 lap tires. Did not get his restart caution, did Gerald Campbell? Oh yeah, I'm sure there's a tire down on that car. But back to my note here, what I'm wondering about is whether the extra horsepower can let you drive out of when that car would get snappy loose, when that condition would kind of crop up. And I'm thinking especially of like maybe turns 2 and 4 at Iowa, turn 2 at Gateway, when we would see the car after car spin out. Can these guys maybe use that extra horsepower to drive through that condition and kind of call it a manhandling of the car, the driving the car. That's kind of the way I've always understood it. You can kind of outsize that condition with extra horsepower.
Certainly. It'll be interesting to see if that's the case. It's probably worth noting, for those who maybe aren't familiar with the off-season rule changes that have been announced in the Real World Series, that this extra horsepower we're talking about it really only applies at the shorter tracks. I won't say the short tracks. I will not say the short tracks because there are tracks of a mile distance and longer, like here at Dover, that are using this rules package. But it's not something we'll see at, the Kansases and Chicagolands and the Las Vegases of the iRacing or real life world. I think it'll be very interesting to see if it does cure some of these ills we have seen at places like Dover, like Iowa that you mentioned, or some of the other shorter tracks on the calendar.
Right. I'm wondering if we won't see a little bit more control in the driver's hands when it comes to that snappy loose condition that this car is infamous for. And as you mentioned, we can only figure it out by going to those types of places. I'm wondering if that's maybe an unintentional consequence of adding horsepower to this next gen car, where you're enabling drivers to be able to rev the rear tires when the car starts to cut sideways and change the way they drive a little bit and allow them to drive out of those slides as opposed to the car just spinning around on them. Matthew Weeks and Daniel Gore were side by side for several laps. Matthew Weeks has now driven around Daniel Gore and moved back into the 12th spot. Danny G's back to 13th. Jared Rexing holding on just behind in 14th. Ethan Burrell's going to win my biggest mover of the race. He's up in 15th. He started technically 47th. Did put a qualifying lap down. So he's up 32 positions, though we kicked a few cars in front of him out of the race that were not chartered. Rexing to the inside of Daniel Gore. Danny G looks like he might have, I don't want to say burned up the stuff a little bit, but that maybe just got the tires a little bit hot here. He's kind of starting to lose some of these spots that he gained earlier. Rexing back to the inside of the 69, but Danny G able to hold him off here. Johnny Thomas to the outside of Gavin Hibbs. Last week's winner trying to grab another top 10, stay in pace with Daniel Falkingham. We'll get our, we can take a quick look at the points, but they do include a drop race, so it's really just everybody's best race thus far. And with a new chase format right now, you can see Gavin Hibbs got 60 points, Daniel Falkingham got 82. I think Falkingham picked up some stage points as well from the 500 and from the dual race. So Hibbs is going to get, a second place finish added to this board after finishing second in the 500. But Falkingham will also get a second place finish if the race were to finish right now. So we'll have to see how the points shake out.
Standings are definitely a little wonky this early in the season with the drop race included. It'll take a couple of races, maybe 4 or 5 races, to really get a feel for what we're looking at in the standings. But that's how we see them at the moment.
Worth noting that Tyler Popp was sitting at 5th in the standings and did not qualify for this race on speed. It just goes to show you how the level of skill has really risen in this series over the last couple of seasons. Pop won also on Monday night in the Grand National Series here on the Elite Racing Network, and just struggled out of the gate in qualifying and wasn't able to make the show. And it's going to be tough here, man. This season, there's a lot of open cars going for these spots each week. It's not quite the same as it used to be, where you could kind of just show up and race if you later in the season if you wanted to.
And just how fickle it is across the board here in Elite, how challenging it is. You talk about Tyler Popp winning that Racecraft Grand National Series event on Monday at Las Vegas and then not qualifying tonight. Well, in that series on Monday night, there are no charters, since it's, there aren't charters in the O'Reilly Auto Parts series. So Scott Crump, a guy who is running 6 here tonight, did not qualify on Monday.
Yeah, Scott. We've covered Scott Crump for years now, and he is extremely capable driver. But it just goes to show you how tough it is right now. These guys are all really, really solid drivers, and then they're bringing all their really, really solid friends over into this league. And sometimes those friends are professionals, and those are the guys that are 1, 2, 3 in the standings right now, as Blake Reynolds, Daniel Falkingham, and Nate Stewart. I wonder if Jonathan Cutlip's regretting talking to those guys and bringing them over right now, as he currently runs in 4th. But Jonathan Cutlip, obviously, he wants the level of the league to rise. He cares about the eyeballs on the race. He cares about racing around the best and trying to beat the best. And in his pursuit of pulling these guys in, he's risen his own level. We've seen, I think, a massive jump in speed from Jonathan Cutlip over the last couple of seasons, where there was a point where he hadn't won one of these Belly Up Sports Cup Series races, and now he's finished, he's been a lap away from the championship once and finished second in the championship once. He's really come close to climbing the mountain completely, and in a chase format, he certainly has an opportunity to climb that mountain this season with a little bit less randomness to cast him aside. Battle between Matthew Weeks, Gavin Hibbs, Jared Rexing, Johnny Thomas, Tate Lytle. These guys have been fighting it out for the very back end of the top 10. Currently, Tate Lytle is 9th. And that is the beginning of this fight. Johnny Thomas running 10th, but Matthew Weeks challenging him to the inside. Weeks' car has really come alive here in the long run, which is definitely to be expected.
We have a little drama with Weeks and Tate on Monday.
We sure
I
did.
believe we did.
We did.
I wasn't in the race or anything. Do you know what happened?
I know they got into each other and both disagreed on why they got into each other. I cannot say I personally went back and reviewed the videotape on that one, mostly because nobody uses videotape anymore.
A lot of door bashing by both. They both slid off the track. Tate got it collected and kept going, and Weeks hit the inside wall and was done. Once you have that, then the blame.
There you go. Jared Rexing loose off turn 2. He'll fall back from this battle between Weeks and Hibbs. Hibbs trying to grab the 10th spot back, but for now it will be Matthew Weeks, though. Did he drop out of the race there for a second? No, he's still there. Dave correctly made the move to go over to the battle for second, because that is the best battle on the racetrack that isn't in this big group, and that is Nate Stewart, who ran the bottom for the first 30 laps of this run. He has correctly identified it's time to go. His 67 car is starting to move up the racetrack to go back to that line that he ran the whole entire first run in. Let's see if Nate Stewart can bypass Daniel Falkingham. It looks like the 67 car has kept the tires on it this time. They lap past Ryan Borges. Blake Reynolds is going to start getting into lap traffic here. Oh, man. And Stewart wanted to go to the top, but Borges ran the top before him. You can see just how much that dirty air impacted that 67. He had to way up, let him get a nice run off the corner, but it definitely impeded his run after Daniel Falkingham. Here comes Nate Stewart inside of Falkingham for second. He will not be able to keep that run up. He's trying that inside line. It's funny, they've swapped spots. Stewart to the inside, Falkingham to the outside.
Yeah, it's a little bit different than what we saw for the first half of this race, but now they listen to you, so now they're gonna go back to the script.
Order was restored. Stewart has run that bottom lane for the better part of this run, and
yes,
he's tried to save the tires on this car a lot better than he did last time, and I think not enough drivers today. If you're a young driver listening,
trouble off turn 4. Daniel Gore is turned around.
No,
hopefully nobody else will collect him because he's right in the middle of the groove on corner exit. It was contact with another car, but I did not catch the other car involved, so not sure.
I saw Josh Adams driving up to him. Yep, there it is. Well, Zach, what do you think about that one? I feel as though I can't speak on that one.
I understand your position as the team boss.
And it kind of looks like my car just got run through there.
I don't understand. We'll take a look at it here from a different angle. I mean, Daniel even is kind of running a diamond at that point and still kind of gets just driven into the left rear. I'm not sure what Daniel's supposed to do differently there.
I guess I am a little concerned because we've been doing a lot of done a lot of race control calls where we call it on the car in front. And I'm hoping we get back to calling it on the car behind. It's just you can avoid the nose.
It does make me nervous because we did tally on the 22. It's the call I just heard on the radio.
All right.
We were definitely we were hearing Fortunate Son after the incident last week for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Between the 90 and the 15, but I believe order has been restored here.
Yeah, I don't like the precedent of the car behind kind of just can drive through the car in front and get called because the car in front made a move of some sort, but the car in front has the access to the racetrack. It looks like Jared Rexing might have missed his pit box. Josh Chin took 2 tires. I thought Jared Rexing would have taken 2 tires. He came off pit road third. I was like, all right, nice. Good call for Jared Rexing. Unfortunately, he did not. He got no tires.
Man, of all the places to take 2 tires.
Josh Chin and Ethan Stanley are certainly they're certainly going to give it a run. I like the call, but
I'm gonna give you the chance to like the call for sure, but
I'll like it until this 93 car spins out.
You know what? If you get, I'm more worried about the restart. If you can get the fire off and it'll give you some rotation and some turn, then maybe we could talk about it. But I am really worried about having on this banked front stretch that is notorious both in iRacing and real life for wheel spin on these low speed restarts, of having a right side tire that still has the sticker on it and a left rear tire that has 40 laps or so on it. That does not instill confidence in me. But Josh Chin's a lot better at iRacing than me, so I mean maybe he can pull it off. But I would wreck everyone if I tried it.
Yep, Josh Chin got going pretty early in the restart
really
zone.
He's really good at iRacing. What can I say?
Yep. Ethan Stanley jumps as perfectly as well, but those 4 tires are going to be behind Josh Chin and trying to hunt him down. It is Chin, Reynolds, Falkingham, and Stewart that chase in behind. Stanley got a little bit sideways coming off turn 2. Hogan jumped to the inside of him. They are 2 wide from 4th on back. Chin holds the race lead, but it'll be Blake Reynolds hunting his teammate down here. As they approach turn 1 once again, Reynolds is going to have to find a way around. Chin has that clean air, and he might just be able to mirror drive here for a few laps. I think Nate Stewart got a piece of the wall. He just lost 4th to Jonathan Cutlip. Hogan jumps inside, going for 5th. Stewart starting to fall back a little bit. The 2 tires on Stanley's car trying to hold on. Battle for the race lead up front. Here comes Blake Reynolds underneath Josh Chin. Caution's out. Big wreck. Scott Crump, Ethan Burrell. I think that was it. Oh, Justin Vandermarl and Gavin Higgins got together.
Okay, I think they got sorted out.
I saw Scott Crump was the initial car sideways here. Let's take a look and see what happened. Oh, well, we've seen that one before, again. Zach. We've seen that one before.
That's good. Burrell might have saved that. I'm not sure. And I think it kind of created a secondary incident behind this too. We'll have to take a look at that because I saw the first car I saw sideways was Gavin Higgins, which is definitely behind this.
Yeah.
Oh,
looks like Ray might have gotten a piece of Higgins
in the checkup, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I think Chad, of course, jumped to the inside of Ray. Right as Ray's already checking up for this wreck. Ty was sideways.
Go back. What happened here?
Ty was sideways. Ty got hit by Gavin. That'll cut your car sideways. Yeah.
Well, see, I was trying to figure out. I also saw Ty and Gavin were not happy with each other, and that would explain that part.
Right, and this was before the spin up front, and then
that was actually just a completely separate incident playing out. And then
had nothing to do with Crump and Burrell. And that's that. Honestly, if I'm being honest, I think that them making contact there did avoid. Nate Stewart just hit pit road, by the way. I think them making contact and slowing up this field behind just made that wreck a 2-car wreck as opposed to like a 6-car wreck. It could have been a 6 to 10 car wreck with those guys piling off turn 4 at full song with Crump sideways in front of the field.
And see, this is the part that I saw. Yeah, so I was trying to figure out what that was all about, and we've deduced that.
An unhappy 10 car.
So tally to the 11 of weeks, which I believe is correct in terms of, although that other incident was first, it was not.
Wasn't ever a caution until Ray got into Gavin.
Not a caution. Correct. Even though sequentially it happened first, it was not. iRacing clearly would have thrown the caution for the second incident. So I think this is, from what I can gather, the right call. I reserve the right to change my mind if we find out there was a third incident at a grassy knoll while all that played out. But
grassy knoll, it honestly saved Gavin Higgins. I think Higgins would have been the car called at fault for the yellow because he did get completely sideways. That probably draws a yellow, but because the caution was for Weeks and Crump and Burrell, he kind of gets away with one a little bit there.
What a lap that was.
That was quite a lap, and then we have 30 more of those.
One of the laps of all time.
Blake Reynolds did acquire the lead from Josh Chin. The 2 tires worked for 2 laps, but no more. Nate Stewart hit pit road. In case you were a Nate Stewart fan wondering where he went, he is 29th. He is going to have a mighty climb. Looks like that car got a piece of the wall. That's why he headed down pit road to try and fix some of that damage. I don't know how much that's going to help him. He's going to be mired in the field here. So difficult break for Nate Stewart. Pace car is off. Blake Reynolds leads us into the restart zone and gets going. Good jump for Josh Chin on those 2 tires. Stanley definitely spun him a little bit, but they all move forward, and we stay green here into turn 1. Burrell's car's got some damage to it, but he's into the top 10 here in 9th. In that 37, he's trying to make it work, even though he spun out. Here comes Daniel Falkingham. He's been very quick on the short run. He's looking inside of Blake Reynolds. Falkingham looking for the race lead down the back straightaway at Dover. Here comes Falkingham to the inside of Reynolds in turn 3. 27 laps to go, but we've seen the race lead be difficult to lose. Falkingham inside, Reynolds outside. They're going to fight hard for this lead, but Daniel Falkingham fast on the bottom of the racetrack. He'll take the lead over from Blake Reynolds.
And you can tell these guys are absolutely on edge here late in the race. You can see how much more aggressive those cars are sliding around on corner exits. Here they go again for the lead.
Blake Reynolds back to the inside of Daniel Falkingham for the lead. He didn't lose the lead at all, according to the scoring pylon. Led the lap at the line. Reynolds back past Daniel Falkingham. Here comes Falkingham back to the outside, trying to use that run up top. Thought it would have worked last time, but Reynolds got such a good run through the center of the corner. He's going to get it again. Falkingham drives off the top of the racetrack. They are still side by side at the line. It was Falkingham by 5/1000ths of a second at the line that time. 25 laps to go. Jonathan Cutlip into 3rd. These guys driving side by side. That can only help him and get closer to him. Falkingham loses the lead full time there. Another lead change. Now Reynolds blocks Falkingham's attempt at a crossover. Oh, they're 6-6 sideways. Reynolds holds on to it. Man, I'm telling you, Zach, I think that he drove through it.
You might be right. You might be right. We might be on to something here.
Falkingham to the inside of Reynolds for the race lead once again. They continue to battle it out for the lead. Reynolds holds Falkingham at bay up top. Cutlip third, Shin fourth, Hogan fifth, Matthew Weeks up to sixth, Tate Lytle into seventh, Ethan Stanley back to eighth, it's Burrell ninth, Gavin Hibbs in 10th. Nate Stewart has made no progress. That car is very badly wounded. He's back in 28th. I think Falkingham thought when he got past Reynolds, he'd just be able to hold him off. And Reynolds getting back to him and kind of surprised Daniel Falkingham. Now Falkingham knows he's going to have to really work for this race lead.
And don't look now, but this is probably the biggest that 5 car has been in the mirror for this top 2 all night long.
Jonathan Cutlip just keeps getting better and better as this race goes on, and he knows he can definitely pounce and go out here and nab himself a podium or even a race win if they start getting too aggressive. Josh Chin kind of blinking in and out of existence. That's not going to help Jonathan Cutlip's awareness level, though. Car blinking in his mirror. Matthew Weeks has also entered the fray here in the top 5. Got a piece of Scott Crump on that last caution, but doesn't look like that car has any damage, and he's now up into 6th, fighting for 5th with Garrison Hogan. Reynolds up the racetrack, Falkingham wrapping that bottom lane. The lead is so close. It is 1/10 of a second between the two right now. Falkingham continuing to try to use the bottom of the racetrack to get around Reynolds. Reynolds trying to use that defensive outside line, the momentum off of these corners. He can play defense up there and force Daniel Falkingham to either move him or run into him. I think it's kind of his only options and actually get the pass done. Here comes Falkingham inside. Reynolds takes to the top groove. We've seen that be just such a difficult task to pass down on the bottom of the racetrack. The only time Reynolds could do it was when he had 20 or 30 laps on the tires. We're not going to get that far in the run. We'll only get to 30 laps total by the time the race is over. Big run by Falkingham through turn 2 that time. Got all the way to the bumper on Blake Reynolds. He continues to put the bumper of this 39 wherever Blake Reynolds' rear bumper isn't. And it's getting clean air on the nose, helping this 39 car rotate. He gets through the center of the corner a little better than Blake. But the corner exit is what's currently winning the 66th race. Back behind Hogan, underneath Josh Shin for 4th. The 2 tires on the 93 starting to fade a little bit. Just sat back. We're watching this battle for the win, man. This is a good battle. Reynolds gapped Falkingham in turn 3 that time. Got a really good run in the center of the corner. That almost puts Falkingham back into the clutches of Jonathan Cutlip, as you mentioned before. Here comes Cutlip.
Matthew Weeks is about to be back in the top 5 after everything he's been through tonight.
Yeah, he has had a tumultuous race. Went all the way to the back with a blinking connection issue. Now he's working on Josh Chin for the 5th spot. Tate Lytle back into 6th. Ethan Stanley there in 8th, just behind him. Chin holds off Weeks. Here comes Lytle to the inside. And you mentioned they've had some drama in the last week or two. The 11 and the 56. Almost contact between the two as well. Here comes Tate Lytle. Lytle's going to clear Matthew Weeks.
But is he got to get crossed over here? No. Well, not yet. Maybe. Nope. Weeks has got to take the outside here.
Boy, those 2 tires for Chin and Stanley look pretty solid. I haven't seen much wiggling, much speed loss from either of those two cars. They seem to be holding on pretty nicely. Ethan Burrell there with Johnny Thomas fighting it out for the 10th spot. Just behind this crew, Weeks, Stanley, Hibbs, Lytle all fighting it out for 6th on back. Up front, Blake Reynolds has pulled away a little from Daniel Falkingham. Falkingham is battling Cutlip for the 2nd spot. I think we should probably stay on that battle between Tate Lytle and Matthew Weeks because they're about to come up and lap Scott Crump here. Let's just watch.
Crump giving ample room to the first few cars through. Josh Shin kind of caught him in an awkward spot, but I was able to make it work.
Tate Lytle's going to go around Scott Crump, and now the car behind Crump is the car that dumped him.
Certainly giving less room. He has found the middle groove.
Knowing Scott, this is where he turns the car on and starts driving it again.
He was pretty content to run the fence until right about now. It's odd how that worked out. Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends?
Gavin Hibbs and Ethan Stanley are going to try to take advantage of this little kerfuffle.
Well, this is where you certainly don't want to see them all end up running into each other because they're bottled up behind a lap car. That would not make me feel warm and fuzzy inside as the guy doing the talking.
I'm sure there are ample messages being conveyed over voice chat at the moment. You'll hear him on.
They've kept it quiet so far, but I think if there's contact, that'll change.
4 laps to go here in this race, and I think the message may have been sent by now. Scott Crump may disagree, of course.
I think he does.
Blake Reynolds has a 0.7 of a second lead over Daniel Falkingham. Held Falkingham off on that restart. Reynolds may not run the full season, but after another race win and another good results, he might rethink that option as he'll be a contender to run that 3rd consecutive championship. We look on that battle for 7th. It's not over. Scott Crump has parked the 90 right in front of Matthew Weeks. Ethan Stanley working to the inside of Weeks. Weeks holds him off. Tate Lytle around Josh Chin for 5th, just in front. 198 on the books. Just a couple more until we can close the books on the Boland Ford 200 tonight. Blake Reynolds off turn 4, looking for 2 to go. Battle for 8th still hasn't resolved. Scott Crump is parked in front of Weeks. Stanley still hunting after that 11 car, trying to take advantage. But he doesn't have any clean racetrack any longer. Off turn 4, white flag for Blake Reynolds. 1 lap to go in this race. It's been drama-free since the last restart. Blake Reynolds has been able to hold off Daniel Falkingham. Jonathan Cutlip has maintained a stranglehold on 3rd. The dramas come from the midfield where Scott Crump and Matthew Weeks are playing games here on the final lap. Blake Reynolds off turn 4. He will win the Boland Ford 200 over Daniel Falkingham and Jonathan Cutlip.
You know what? Credit to Ethan Stanley. He gave it up. There's contact here. And I think Ethan recognized I wouldn't be in this situation if there wasn't some shenanigans afoot, backed out of it, let Matthew gather it up, and it honestly cost him a spot. So Ethan Stanley should probably send a lovely message to Scott Crump as well, because ultimately that hurt his race more than Matthew Weeks, honestly. So, I'll keep any further editorial comment to myself, but that's not what you like to see.
Yeah, Ethan was trying to take advantage of it as well there. He'd probably tell you he overdrove it. There's Blake Reynolds celebrating his win here in the Boland Ford 200. Cutlip and Falkingham round out the podium. Strong run for Blake Reynolds, middle of the race. The green flag run allowed him to go up and get the race lead, and he never looked back. Only really lost it when he had to go back around Josh Chin, got that before the caution flag came out, and was able to restart with the race lead on the final one of those there about lap 170 and took it home from there. So let's go ahead and grab Jonathan Cutlip while the other guys move their way into the waiting room and talk to the third place finisher of tonight's race. And John, looked like you were right. You finished right about where you ran just about the entire night. Take me through it, and if you had anything for those top two.
No, not really, to be honest. It was a pretty boring night, which Dover, it's usually hit or miss for us. Usually when it's plowing, we're dying. So I was trying a few things tonight. Honestly, shout out to Eddie Kerner for that. He was teaching me how to drive off the right front a little bit, and I was kind of doing a reverse of that, and luckily it worked out a little bit. I'm still fine-tuning things, so it's kind of just like a trial and error type of thing for me right now. But yeah, I think if we got a super long run, I think that we were going to be a little bit better than where we were running as far as like distance to everyone else. But yeah, coming away with the P3 is definitely a good night.
So obviously, a little bit of a learning curve for everybody here tonight, John, with the update and the extra horsepower and all of that. What's kind of your biggest takeaway as far as that goes from the evening going into the other shorter track races we'll see in this Cup car?
Honestly, I didn't even notice much of a difference. The center speed's a little bit higher, but that's about it. It didn't really make a huge difference. The wind was really bad tonight. I feel like that was the biggest difference maker. It was blowing across the track, so we were gripped up in 2 and plowing in 3 and 4. So it made some interesting lane decisions. The rubber update was very nice. You could spread out instead of just tracking on the bottom pretty much the entire race. But yeah, the horsepower update, probably need about 400 more, to be honest. Personally, I didn't notice much of a difference.
John, with not only the horsepower update, but you also have the points update as well. With you obviously being a really consistent driver and capable of going out here and potentially picking yourself up a championship, maybe without some of the drama we've seen from the past playoffs. How does a race like tonight kind of inspire you to move forward and continue your pursuit of that first championship?
To be honest, I'm not sure this is going to be the year. I'm not sure how many more races I'm going to be making here. I have some qualifying series stuff to attend to, and it's going to revolve around that, to be honest. Just I want to put my focus into that, and if it works out, that's good. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I think B season is going to be a little bit more clear. Maybe quarter run this season out, but if I don't, I don't.
And before we let you go, who do you have to thank on this third place finish tonight?
Shout out to my guys at Field Up Racing. It's always fun to represent them. Gavin, Justin, Jesse, and Kurt. Shout out to Race CPI. Shout out to the Channel 199 guys. It's always fun racing with them. Garrison, Blake, Stanley, Paul. They're always fun to hang around. And Nate Stewart as well. He's fun to hang out with. But yeah, hopefully we can get a couple spots better next week or going forward.
Gotcha. Well, congrats on P3 this week, John, and we'll catch you next week.
Yeah, have a good night.
Now We'll bring in second place finisher Daniel Falkingham. And Daniel, you had control of the race real early on there, but once Blake got past you and seemed like you were just a little bit off of what that 66 car had, take me through your night.
Yeah, it was a good night. We had an exceptional start. Went from fourth to first on the first lap, and kind of set sail for the first half of the race. And then really just the long runs were really kicking me tonight because I felt like I was taking care of them like when I was out front. But Nate, he was really good at running the top, and he could still keep his tires on it while he was running the top. I just had to struggle with just the right front tire all night, and that's usually a struggle for me anytime I race here. So. Yeah, we were just had a hard time managing that. I thought with me having the advantage clean air, I could do a good job of that, and me just blocking Nate, just aero blocking, because like that's just the way this car is now, where dirty air is very, very bad. But yeah, just unfortunately just did a terrible job of taking care of the right front, and that allowed Blake to get around us. But we really thankfully that wasn't the end of it, because we still had a shot there on that those last couple of restarts to get back around them. But we actually did get back around them, and then we unfortunately forgot to turn for turn 3 there. So and he got right back around us. But nonetheless, I still had a good time. I mean, that was a heck of a battle those last 20 laps. Nice, clean, respectful racing right there. It's always a good time. So but yeah, GD's Blake there. Glad we could come on with a second better result than we had last week, where I felt like we should have finished right up there, just like we've had the entire season so far. But nonetheless. P2, we'll take the points as we get closer to the chase, and yeah, we'll move on to the next one.
Certainly, you touched on it there, continuing to accumulate those points with the move to the chase format this season. We talked to you after Daytona, and you knew it was important to keep making these races and keep accumulating those points as an open driver. Certainly has to be a little bit of a relief that 3 races in, you're still very much on schedule there.
Yeah, that was the keys. Just and that's why I feel like I'm best at is I feel like I'm a really, really good points racer. So and it was like we won the stage last week and won the stage tonight as well. And I think we got lap led, most laps led, so we're getting a lot of the bonus points too, which is very important because we're not guaranteed at the show every week. Because like if I make one little screw up in qualifying, then that's curtains for me. So it's definitely important to get all those points we can get. But I feel confident that I can make the show every week. And but yeah, even if I miss one, then I got to take advantage of those. Take advantage of those missed weeks if we happen to miss one. But right now we're right on schedule to get towards that chase, and I know we have a drop week in there as well. So yeah, right now everything's going according to plan. We got a win, and we're running right up at the front, which I expect to be just showing really strong pace throughout the first 3 races, and hopefully we can keep doing that.
Daniel, how this is your first foray into the Elite Racing League, especially the Belly Up Sports Cup Series. What are your thoughts? I haven't, my first time interviewing you since I didn't get to after the 500. So, what are your thoughts on the league, especially as you've got 3 races under your belt and you've been up front in all of them, but you haven't been able to close it out yet? Is this a tough group to race against? Because we know you're fast, you're coming with pace, but as you mentioned, it could go away in a hurry like it did last week.
Yeah, like I said, it's a very good stout group of drivers over here. There are no slouches. Like you have Blake over here, who's like running the Coke Series. I've run with him for a lot of years over in other leagues too. So know him very well. I know Nate very well, and there's like so many guys that I've seen like throughout the surf just being on here, but this is my first time actually like racing them. So a lot of familiar names, and like I said, they're a very good group of guys. And I definitely know like they're better at me at strategy if we saw what happened last week. But yeah, but no, very, very good group of guys over here, and also over on the IndyCar side because I run on Thursday nights too. Just a very, very good group of guys, and making this a blast to run so far, and especially trying to get acclimatized with all the oval stuff again because I haven't really done too much oval racing the last couple of months when Coke ended, and I have started getting back into it, and yeah, this is a good place to really try to get back in the swing of things with the qualifying series starting back up on Tuesday, so we gotta get prepared for that. But love being over here. I know Chad does a good job with the stuff over here, and I know you guys have a good time broadcasting the races too. So, really, really like what y'all got over here.
And before we let you go, who do you have to thank on this runner-up finish tonight?
Yeah, just thank Chad for all he does for this league. Thanks to Belly Up for all they do for the series. Thanks to you guys for broadcasting. And shout out to Blake on the win. Always fun racing him there. And shout out to him, Nate, Garrison, Chin, Ethan, John as well. I pretty much run with those guys, just talk with during the races. So congrats to Blake get on the win, and thanks to everyone watching.
Well, thanks, Daniel, and congrats on P2. We'll look forward to talking to you again next week.
All right, appreciate you guys. We'll see you then.
Let's grab race winner Blake Reynolds and bring him to the booth. And Blake, it's a long time no see for you. What, 2 weeks, 2 races without talking to you in the booth for us? So after the championships, it feel good to get back on top of things in this league and get order all resorted once again.
I guess so. You could say it like that. I knew coming in, I was the defending winner of this race, I believe. And I knew they hadn't changed too much with the car until we had a patch, like what, 2 days ago, yesterday, something like that. And we got more horsepower in this car. That's always a good thing to see. From 670 to 750. Yeah, right.
Yeah, 750 right now tonight. Yep.
Yeah. So good stuff. I like that. And I think it really played a part because a lot of guys were shredding right fronts. It's going to happen here, but I think just that little bit of horsepower, people were picking up the throttle real light in the center because, this car, it picks up speed, even with a lot of steering input. Like you can gain 10 mile an hour easily just with like 45 degrees of steering input. So you got to be real easy not to rush the center to the exit. Because at that point, the exit, instead of burning right rear like you usually would, you'd be burning right front. So I think that's what was struggling with a lot of guys, but I kind of knew that's a thing here. Even in the Gen 6 car, it was a thing. So, yeah, I stayed real tempoed all night, and I knew Nate and Dan were just running that high side really hard, and they were just going for air pockets. And I knew if I just held my line that first run, I'd just kind of squeeze on by them if the run allowed it. And then eventually it did, and I don't really think I lost the race other than that that absolute battle with Dan at the end. That was crazy. I got loose off of 2, and I thought I was done, but I got control of it, and I grabbed 5th gear and held it into 3. That was awesome.
And before we let go, who do you have to thank on this win tonight?
Beautiful sponsors in Track Racer Simulation, Channel 199 Sim Racing, Racecraft Academy, Drake Machine Works, and you guys for putting this on, and Chad and the admin team. This is a fun event. I'm sure a lot of people were frustrated. There was some beef after the race, so I'll see y'all at Mexico.
I believe that's right. Yeah. Well, yes, it is.
Let's go get some margaritas. I'm sponsored by Margarita Machine Company. That's what DMW is, so I'll be ready.
And are we doing the Mexico Oval or the Mexico Road Course? Because there's 2 of them.
Road Course. It's got to be.
The road course. All right. Yeah, we'll expect to see you up here next week then as well. Or I guess the real question that right. It's 2 weeks, isn't it?
You got a week off.
Yep, we got a week off. There you go. But Blake, do we expect to see you the rest of the season full time, or are you still planning to break off and run it more of a part-time schedule here?
So originally, I know you guys have been saying on the broadcast, originally this was going to be my part-time series, and I was going to do full-time in the GNS. However, my friends got their college class schedules, and it was the opposite. They no longer have class on Mondays, and they got class on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I like to go hang out with my friends, go play poker, go to a bar or something. So I think if the time comes and I have to skip a race, I think that's gonna be Monday now. So I think I'm gonna try to be full time in the Cup Series, barring anything else, any other events that may overlap. And then Monday will be part time at if it's a track I don't like, we'll see.
Well, all right, there you go. So the hunt for 3 in a row is on then.
It is.
Awesome. Well, we'll be looking forward to seeing you each and every week the rest of the year, and go celebrate this one, buddy.
Awesome. Thank y'all.
That's race winner Blake Reynolds. The race results have been flashing on your screen, so we won't delve too deeply into those, but the Bull and Ford 200 is complete. Zach, any final thoughts?
Man, going to be a lot to unpack after that one, especially with some of the beef that we saw on display over the course of the evening. I'm sure there'll be lots of conversations in the private chats into the evening. But fortunately, they have 2 weeks to sort all that out. Of course, we will be off next Wednesday as the real world, all eyes will be on Florida in preparations for the Daytona 500. So hopefully a week off will cool off some of that, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time in virtual Mexico City.
It should be a good time. New road course to the Belly Up Sports Cup Series. I envision that we'll have the same old faces hunting the road course crown, like Blake Reynolds and Ethan Stanley. So be sure to tune in for that one and enjoy the real world racing for the rest of the week. Everybody have a good night.